Good morning, everybody. It's Kula Dula from RawStocks. We have another edition of our pre-market prep. And yeah, what a weekend that was. Start of the NFL and a great sell down on Friday to bring us back below 6,500. What's to come? Do we have a pop back over it, or is 6,500 going to resist? We're going to cover that in today's edition of the pre-market prep. In addition to that, we're going to cover some of the data that we have coming up this week and some really nice potential trades. So we'll get covered into that, or we'll get going into that now. Do a quick shout out to our sponsors, Black Box Stocks and GammaEdge. Without those guys, we would not be able to provide this to you every single day for free. So big shout out to them. Make sure you go and support them utilizing the links in the description or bio, or however you do find this, you will find a link inside there for that. So if you're on X, it's on my pinned tweet. Okay, so as we said last week, we didn't get the close over 6,500. You could see that we just tried to make it and tried to break over 6,500, but just consistently could not get the close over the top of 6,500. As of right now, we're opening up right underneath the 6,500 level. We're right there, right? So what's to happen, right? Are we going to break out over the top of it, or is this going to be another failed break over 6,500 where we potentially see this thing roll over? Well, we're going to cover that. But before we do, let's go over the data on the week. So we have consumer credit comes out at 2 o'clock. I think this is going to be a big deal here. So I need you to take note of that, as your power hour, sour hour, could be substantially moved by that right there. So today's power hour, worth a lotto, right? Worth a lotto on your power hour, sour hour, right before that data drops. You're looking for a potential reversal. Just keep that in mind, okay? We were really interested in how that consumer credit looks. Wednesday, we have PPI, okay? Core PPI is going to drop. You're going to have a 10-year bond auction. And then we're going to have core CPI as well. This is going to be a big look into how the market, the economy is going right now, whether we're starting to see some inflation, whether it's stagflation, or we're actually losing or shrinking in regards to pricing. But I find that to be difficult to believe. We're also going to get unemployment claims. So we're going to get a little peek into unemployment claims. So we're going to get the federal budget balance on Thursday. And then, yeah, this is going to be the last CPI before the following week, where we do see the FOMC into the 17th. Okay. So this is going to be the Fed statement. This is going to be the decision on rates. You can see the forecast is to drop it. But that is all going to be dependent on the data that I believe we're seeing this week. So keep an eye on that. All right. Okay. So for our intraday trades, we've got our levels here. Like I said, we're opening up right near our key level here. It's also near our overnight high. If you take a look at our overnight high here, our overnight high is at 6,500.3. It's already swept the previous high and sold down, but did not take a new low. So we're kind of watching how it responds towards this 6,500 level. Normally speaking, if we get the bounce off of this range, we would see a press through this to the upside. But this is a big sell into Friday that we have to overcome, a humongous sell here. So is this something where we're going to target 65.33 plus, or are we going to fall over towards that 6,400 level? I think this is the start of the move towards either one. You need to know that there's a greater risk versus reward to go short at this level looking for that type of move. But data doesn't necessarily go with that. We're going to cover that in just 1 second. All right, so full complex here on the SPX. We can see that we still remain call dominated. You see 6,600 has grown, but we still have the grapple of the 6,500 spread still in lock here. We talked about it. This is through the end of the month, quarterly position by JP Morgan. And will we be able to get over the top of that, or will that just continue to give us struggles? You can see that 6,600 is growing larger than 6,500. So if we do punch through 6,500, 6,600 is likely going to be your upside target there. Okay. Today we have a decent amount of overhead shorts at the open. We're sitting here at, like I said, about 6,500 here, which is on a negative delta short here. Upside is 6,520. Okay. So it gives us a little bit of room here for the upside, but 6,500 still remains a pretty decent wall here. You can see a decent amount of open interest here, split both ways. All right. Transition is at 6,475. For your positive transition. So that virtually takes us down towards the open, or close on Friday. Okay. So takes us down in this range. Once we get in this range, it makes a decision. So if we open here, our wall is up here at 6,520. For me, with overhead shorts, this kind of looks like a position where you don't necessarily want to go 0 day, but you're looking for some short position to build to retest this gap down here. But don't get me lying to you. This could get parabolic over the top of 6,500 and rip right through 6,520. It's just, we're working with what the data tells us. And the data tells us, based on here, that this is a mixed bag. This looks like chop, all right? But when you start to do full complex, really start to get just a one vision look here that this is bullish towards 6,600, but we do have to get over the top of 6,500 and our short at 6,505. So we're watching this closely here to see if this is something that it wants to expand, or if that is just going to keep us contained. All right. So like I said, look at the close here. We're virtually opening right here. Will this pop over the top? If we do, it has us choked out at 6,520, but I think we'll likely find ourselves probably gap closing if we do break out towards the upside. So keep an eye on that. Okay. Just keep an eye on it. All right. Let's look at NVIDIA here. NVIDIA has a really nice setup for me. Watching this potential break over the top of 167.5 for a move up towards Friday's high at 169.06 into 170. You're watching for that breakout towards that level. If it does want to do that, that's kind of what I'm expecting. I'm not really expecting this to get shut down here, but at the same time, we're not really popping over the top of this. It doesn't give me full confidence that this thing wants to rip past this as it struggled with it in pre-market. You might see this roll over if we can't get over the top of it, retest into that 165 before potentially trying to find that bounce up back towards 167.5 or more. Okay. Right now, the data on NVIDIA still remains very much call dominated. $2.54 million or 2.54 million in net GEX here. You can see that there is a tremendous amount of calls to the upside, but you're starting to see some shorts grow. We've talked about this. This hasn't been something we've seen at NVIDIA in quite some time, but these positions still remain the same, still very bullish to the upside here. Nothing's changed in regards to that. The one thing that I will say in the weekly here is that we do have a couple overhead shorts really into that 185 and 180 zone, but 175 definitely seems like a target to the upside that we could try. And this is a good split for us to try that. So maintaining the base between 167 and 165 will give us fuel towards retesting 170 and 175. So we swung some calls. We're looking for this thing to press up above 167.5, looking to press towards 170 and potentially 175. I'm just curious if we're going to catch a consolidation day today between 167 and 165 before we get some type of distribution, either breaking down or breaking back up towards 170 and 175. So obviously we lean bullish there. We'd love to see a break over the top of 167.5 for this thing to target towards the Friday's high into that 170 zone. And if we break through that, I would be looking for that potential 171 to 172.5 zone. For that to be your next target. So it's going to struggle there. As you can see, we've had multiple attempts in this range, right? So it is going to struggle in that zone. There's no doubt in my mind that this will be a little bit of supply. This might be an area where if you get the early move towards 172 in the week, then that is a nice little area to take majority profits. The 175 push would be icing on the top. Tesla. So Tesla is opening up near 355. This is an interesting little move here. We can tell that we're in a positive gamma area here at 350, looking to press up towards 370. And I know a lot of people are like, well, we didn't expect this to launch just yet. A lot of people didn't, including myself. We were looking for this breakdown one last time, especially into Thursday's close, for it to roll over one more time towards that 320 to 315 area. Well, it doesn't look like it's going to happen now. All right. Does not look like it's going to happen. We're in an area of strength. And let me show you the data. So full complex here. 400 has grown to be our upside target now on the full complex, which it kind of has been, but 350 in the last week really was dominant and was maintaining the full complex upside. But now you can see 400 is growing. There's no overhead shorts. This thing looks bullish to the upside. You just got to wait through the consolidation. I will say there was a report that dropped virtually saying that Tesla's market share has dropped down towards 2017 levels in the United States. And so that is a eye-opening report as there's more competition coming. But Tesla's price is not driven by fully just their cars. And I think we've noticed that over the last 6 months that negative things have happened to Tesla in regards to their cars, to data, to coming up short, but we still remain bullish in trying to run this up. Well, I think that is on the back of, robo-taxi somewhat. I've talked about my my position there, and that I think that's a lot slower take than what people actually think will happen. Like that's going to take a lot longer. We could cover that one day if you choose. Make sure you comment on the video, and I might do like a little, vision, or maybe I'll just do a write-up on that on Tesla for X or something like that. But 370 remains to the upside here. 350 is your transitional zone. Looking to pop over the top of that or hold over that for this thing to potentially get that move up towards 370. I believe if you get the 370 move this week, you'll see 400 grow. And you can see in the next week, they have a pretty large position up towards that 400 that really everyone's looking at, right? Into that middle part of September for Tesla drive up towards that. So will we get it this week? Potentially. I think, you got to know how Tesla moves and how that looks, right? The optics of it. So when you start looking at this, Tesla's really traded by a lot traded by retail. You're going to see that little wedge there. And they might even do like that retest at 350, right? And you know, I don't know how this lines up with this, but you might see something to the extent of that right there. We always talk about wedges don't work. You know, it's not a reliable piece of, you know, actionable technical analysis. I think a good example of that would be Meta, right? We talked about this into last week and we said why they don't work. Well, it's because of the data. We use institutionalized real-time data to understand where markets are positioned. And we knew that in the last week that we were virtually pinned at 750. So there was no way for this breakout to happen. So if you were a retail trader, which everybody listening to this is, including myself, are looking at this and saying, oh, this is going to break out. This is going to break out. It just didn't, right? Because we knew this is what we do. All right. And I had a lot of people give me flack about this, that this thing was going to take off, that it was already breaking out. And I said that I thought we might get one more low. And based on new data, I don't know if that's going to be the case. Let me pull up the metadata here. You're going to see that 800 is lit up, right? 800 is straight lit up on the full complex here. Start looking into the weekly here. Nothing super substantial. It's 86,000 contracts, but it is a decent amount to give you a landscape of what you need to be looking at. So your downside here looks to be your transitional zone is at 747.5. So when you look at what this looks like in regards to a play here, this is not a terrible spot for a great RVR, okay? What I mean by that is your upside is 775. Your downside would be 747 with a open here. So you're risking 12.5, or excuse me, a little less than 12 and a half, or excuse me, a little less than 10 here, on a risk for a reward of upwards 20 plus, right? So you would say 775 to the upside and 800 to your full move. So it's really not a bad play. Everything looks as it potentially should, but I think if you do break below 747.5, you really want out of this trade. But it's not a bad play here, knowing that there is a greater reward here for the upside. All right. So, all in all, would I take a call on Meta? I don't think so. I think the contracts are boosted. If I did take one, I would take one possibly at the 747 retest, right in this zone, right? You'd watch these lows, this zone right here. I think I'd be comfortable buying right in this range right here. That puts us right around 749 to 747.5. I think I'd be okay taking some lottos into the next week for like a 780, 770 call, and potentially even an 800 call a little bit further out than that, and see if it would hold that 747 level to see if this thing wants to get that press up towards 770. So keep an eye on that. That does have potential. Okay. I wanted to talk about Meta, or about the NASDAQ. Okay. It's the headliner today. And the reason why is because of the data. There is a solid move potential here for the NASDAQ. Okay. So as it stands, 590 to the upside has grown, and even 600. We have some decent shorts here, especially at 560. That really has a decent draw to where we're at. So if we slip below, say 575, I think you need to be somewhat worried that this thing could have some relative pull back towards that area of 560 on the full complex. Okay. I really do believe that. But today, you can see 575 is guarded heavily, and there's a decent upside towards 581. Now, as I've done this, we've got a decent amount of, buying. We're up towards that 578. So things have changed slightly, but that buy into 575, in 576 is an area where it's not a bad play, okay? Because that gives you the potential. So if we get an early sell down towards this range and we create some base or maybe some strong recovery candle out of this zone, I am really interested in going long, looking to see this thing retest 580 and 581. I will put the caveat on the same thing that I did with the S&P, is that this is a large sell, okay? And anytime we have these large sells, they can act as a area of reversal, okay? And generally speaking, it would target a new low afterwards. So I'll give you an example on, let's do Tesla, okay? So big sell down happened off that 350 level, right? Here's your big sell candle. We came into that candle and sold down, chased the low, right? Well, there's your brand new breakdown candle, right? Your breakdown candle is right here. Well, we came, tested this candle, and this is where you look at this and say, oh, we're going to test another low. It sold down, tested its base down here, right here, down in here, tested its base, and then it rocketed off of there. So sometimes when we see this, and it's already taken this high, sometimes when we see this, we can see another breakdown retesting this zone. Or we can see the expansion looking to target things like 357, 367, which aligns with what we're looking at 370. But all I'm saying is that when we hit these big sells like this, sometimes it can act as a large sell down, chasing the lows or chasing a base. And the idea here is that we're looking for it to chase this base based on data, double base, into this area and see if it wants to rocket off of this for an expansion off of the NASDAQ. And you got to love the risk versus reward here. There's $1 virtually, maybe $1.50 that you're looking to risk here, right? Buying into 576 and closing if it breaks buying into 576 and 575, and you can close it if it gets underneath, say like 573. And then you can say that this thing has upside towards 581 plus if it gets to the upside. So for me, I think it's a pretty good risk versus reward. Not where it stands right now. I don't want anything to do with it where it stands right now. But if it does, say, move down towards that close there, I would be definitely interested in maybe potentially taking some longs on this for a retest of 581 plus. Okay. So we covered quite a bit today. I'm going to call it quits there. Hopefully this was insightful for you. If you're not a member of the premium, anybody that's in here, here is a special offer for you. Go use code VIPER. Go use code VIPER on checkout. If you're not a member of premium, you will get a free month of premium. So this is going to hit the X and YouTube and everything. So it's going to be first come, first serve. Go use code VIPER. You'll get a free entire month of our premium on there. But if you were a member on the Discord, you're getting early access to that promo code. So a little bit of a cheat code, a little bit of a thank you for always coming in and supporting the pre-market preps in the Discord. So we do provide them to our free members as well. They get early access. It's just being part of our community that you get access to this before the market open, where we release it everywhere on social. So make sure you do sign up on our free limited and come join us if that is something that you're interested in. Otherwise, come take a look at us in the premium section, get our alerts, everything like that. And yeah, that's going to cover it for today. So RawStocksLLC.com. That is RawStocksLLC.com. You can use code VIPER and get 1 month for free at RawStocksLLC.com. So, all right, that's going to do it for today, guys. Hopefully this is insightful. Like I said, make sure you tag me. If you do take one of these trades, tag me on X. I love to see it. So anyways, thanks for tuning in today, guys. Until tomorrow. Catch you later.